Relationships, fashion, trends, and all things topical. She is the content queen.
Facebook, YouTube, Twitter.
Time to find out what Kristi's blogging about on Fly 92.3.
All right, here she is from the Times Union and TimesUnion.com. The blog is on the edge. The woman on vacation and still doing the segment.
I love it.
Is Kristi Gustafson Barlette. How are things down in Myrtle Beach?
Things are great. You know what? Everybody's talking about the same thing here that they're talking about at home, which is back to school.
It's a nice time to be down there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's nice.
Good.
Because kids are back to school, so it's not nearly as crowded, which you got to love that.
That's true, too.
And it's so good, too. It's like the best time to go away is when the summer's, like, for all intents and purposes over, but you still have that to look forward to, you know? And is the weather down there pretty good, Kristi?
Yeah, but I hear that you guys are having about the same thing, 80s, 90s, so.
Yeah, it is. It's been very warm.
First world problem.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, the weather back home is as nice as the weather on my vacation.
Can't get a break.
No, but Kristi, thank you for still doing this segment. We appreciate it. We're talking about back to school and teachers. And listen, it is our belief that many of you, if not all of you, you're all saints, and most are probably underpaid. And, and people joke about the hours and having summers off and everything. But the way you shape and mold and influence, our children and the young people of society, it really is just a great profession. There are some really good ones. But over the years, just because it's a numbers game, there are going to be some not so stellar ones too.
There's some bad apples in there.
Always. So we kind of threw that out there. And Kristi, from personal experiences and from what your readers sort of said and suggested, what kind of comments did you get?
Yeah, it was interesting because I definitely asked for the good and the bad, and I think this speaks to the numbers game, like you said. The overwhelming majority came up with great teachers. They talked about teachers who gave them confidence, who made them feel like they mattered when they didn't think they mattered. One woman talked about a teacher at Martin Luther King Jr. School in Schenectady, Mrs. Stein, and I apologize if I mispronounced that, but the student said, you know what, I was sick a lot with asthma, and in the winter I walked to school. She's like, and all the students had to wait outside, but being outside in the cold made my asthma worse. She's like, so every day the teacher brought me inside and let me help in the classroom so I didn't have to stand outside.
That's awesome.
And it's like one of those little things, but you think, oh, okay, the teacher noticed that she didn't feel well, it would make her school day worse, so I'll bring you inside.
Wow, that's crazy. I've heard of teachers, that get to work early, and because of schedules, parents would drop them off like maybe an hour or so before school starts, and they would just be sitting out there all by themselves. Teachers would bring them in, take them home so they wouldn't have to wait for hours for pickup and stuff, especially when it's cold. I've heard of many teachers in the Albany school system on the days where the schools were open, but it was really like treacherous outside. Teachers going out of their way, taking the kids to and from school just so that it's safe, which, you know what?
They can't do that now, really.
Well, you know what? No, but what? Screw that stuff.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
Because you can do it now.
Yeah.
Please, my
I know,
gosh.
but everybody's so PC now. I had a teacher in high school, Mrs. Yassar, which I was very, very good friends with her. I would do a lot of after school. She was a math teacher, and I needed a lot of help in math, so I would do after school. She drove every single day from Woodstock, so an hour and 40 minutes, Saugerties, that area, an hour and 40 minutes to the Mechanicville schools, and she would stay late with me almost every
when
single
you needed
day.
It.
And I was there, and I got 100 on my algebra regents because of her. And she was just passionate about what she did, and she loved to teach.
Did you get some negatives, Kristi? Because those are always fun.
Yeah, they are. One woman, and it's interesting because she went to Averill Park, and, I went to Averill Park, and she said she had a teacher in the science department, and he told her she had a cucumber between her ears in front of the entire class. And basically said, she couldn't learn, couldn't understand.
Oh my God.
Please, that's nothing compared to some of this. That is nothing compared to some of this. Hold that thought, Kristi. We'll do part 2. We did the good, all right? So we love you, teachers, but you're not all saints. All right, we have our second part of this segment with Kristi Gustafson Barlette. Kristi Gustafson. Sorry, Kristi. I didn't mean to say.
You're still thinking about that teacher you were talking about before.
Hang on, Kristi Gustafson.
Oh, Kristi, that was a faux pas from before when he was talking about his other teacher.
One of my favorite teachers. You said it was what? Mrs. Bagetta was your favorite?
Oh, Mrs. Bagetta at Averill Park. She was my English teacher. She was totally tough and made everything difficult, and I loved her for it. She made me want to go into journalism. She made me want to be a better writer, and she made me love English.
Did you know it at the time, Kristi, or did you kind of despise her in a way because she pushed you so hard?
I think I didn't love that she pushed me so hard, and the interesting thing is on tests I often did better in math, even though I'm not a great math student and not as well in English, but I felt like she then made me do better in English, and therefore made me think, wow, I really do like writing, and she let us be creative and let us explore what we were good at, and from that point on, I thought, you know what, this is what I really like to do. You know, she made me better and then made me want to be much better.
How about you, Kristi? Is there a favorite teacher that stands out for you?
Well, I told you about Mrs. Yassar. She was probably in high school, but in elementary school, I had Miss Amadeo, but then she became Mrs. Ferguson and then went back to Miss Amadeo. But she kept moving up with me. So I started with her in kindergarten. Then I had her in first grade, second grade, I think fourth grade, and then sixth grade. I think if that's the progression, right? And I thought she was moving up because of me.
Wow.
Like, well, I was little.
She would just keep changing her name, so they just let her go and do a
right.
different class. They're like,
She's actually retiring, I think, this year. So a big shout out to her because she's been teaching in the mechanical schools for, I think, 38 years.
That doesn't make you feel old. That she started. She started when you were there. Now she's retiring.
When I was in kindergarten.
So she was one of your favorites.
She was one of my favorites.
I had in fourth grade. I had Mrs. Bryan, and if you just want to envision her, just think Whitney Houston. This was one of the most beautiful women I've ever. And she, I don't know, we just hit it off. She really, really liked me. She would tell. She actually was one of the first teachers I had that actually told my parents that she thought I was very smart.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is kind of a nice thing because
that
you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, isn't that weird?
And if anybody used to
you're
know it to
still
be your
waiting for
teacher.
someone to tell you that in adulthood.
Yes, and now it's been fourth grade since somebody has. So thank you, Mrs. Bryan, wherever you are.
I love
And
that.
even though nobody has since you, I still feel it because you convinced me. How about
Confidence.
not so great teachers, Kristi? Did you have any that you'd like to forget?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I chose to take French instead of Spanish, which was probably not the best choice because obviously Spanish serves you better. But I did French, and I never liked French. I really did not like it at all. But then I got to my freshman year of college, and I had a French professor. I don't use the word hate very often. I would say she's almost up there. She just made me miserable, made a lot of the students miserable. She made me hate the foreign language even more, and I thought, I just need to get out of here. I need to get over with this. And she even made me want to skip class, and I was not a class skipper at all.
You know
You're
something?
Like, I'll never go to France.
I
You
had
son of
a-
a gun.
You know what? I still have a little bit of a bias against France.
I'm going to tell you something. What's
She
interesting
ruined
too,
the country for me.
Kristi, I had a French teacher too that I was not fond of, and I'm not going to say
took
her
Spanish.
name. But it was one of those names. It just sounded. She could be like a wicked Disney character. Like she looked like her name was like Miserable or something like that. Miserable.
She was like in Ratatouille, and she was like the bad one.
and she would just make you feel like, because I mean, I'm like, why am I learning this stupid language? You know, like I didn't say
At
that
the
to
time,
her.
though, when you're a kid, you're like,
There's no
what is
need
it?
for me. Why am I taking French, Miserable? And then she hated me because I wasn't very good at it. And
Right.
to her and Kristi, you probably know this. Like I always feel like Spanish teachers don't necessarily feel like Spain is the greatest. Like it feels like it's
like
more
entitlement.
But for
Right.
some reason, French teachers think that France is the greatest place in the world, and if you're not taking to the language, it's almost like you're dismissing their beloved
yes,
country.
You're insulting them in some way.
Do you get that feeling with your teacher, Kristi?
Yes, in high school, my French teacher was fine. You know, the Spanish teacher was the woman everyone loved, but people didn't really dislike the French teacher. So I don't really remember that about her there. But definitely, I think in college, my French teacher had an air about her and about the country and about the language.
Right.
And
Right.
it was just, I've even Googled her now, 15 plus years later sometimes to think, oh, what happened to her? Because I hope she's not teaching kids anymore.
Death happened to her, Kristi. You got your wish.
Stop. That's terrible.
I
joking.
really disliked her.
She didn't even refute it. Kristi, did you have what was your French name? What did they call you?
Oh, I don't remember. I think I tried to block that whole period. I don't
Yeah.
think there's a way to make Kristi French, you know?
Yeah,
Did you know yours? We got to pick them, which I
think
loved.
it was Brion.
Okay.
Brion.
Oh, see, we got to pick them. So
you did?
yes, because
was your
Mrs.
Spanish
Durden
name?
was awesome.
Yeah.
And she let us do whatever we wanted, pretty much.
So what was your Spanish name?
My Spanish? I picked Soledad. So I was Soledad. This is
Soledad.
before, yeah, Soledad. And my friends were.
What does Soledad mean? Like, how did you even decide Soledad?
We had a book of names to pick from, and we could be whatever we wanted.
Really?
And I picked Soledad. I thought it was different, and didn't sound like the typical Spanish name. And
Yours was crusty, right? Is that part of the reason why you didn't like her?
That may have been what the other kids in school called me. But the French
Krusty Gustafson. Gustafson. Get over here.
Gustafson or whatever. you
Gustafson.
Boston.
Gustafson. Kristi, thank you. This was fun. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
called me.